streaming this thing once again. There's a lot of people probably won't know.
Huh?
So appreciate you streaming it.
All right, if I can have your attention, we'll go ahead and get started this afternoon. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight. The goal of this meeting is to provide you with some information about the bond referendum and answer any questions that you may have. However, I am going to ask that you refrain from negative comments. If you have negative comments, we'll meet and talk later, but I ask that you refrain from those during this session. On behalf of the school board and myself, we feel it's our responsibility to provide for our students what they need. And obviously, we have found out that there is a need for classrooms and restrooms in our schools. So we are coming to you as citizens of Union County asking for your help for us to be able to provide these much needed classrooms and restrooms for our students. Before we get started, got some guests here that I want to recognize. We have got all of our administrators, and they'll be up here a little bit later, and they'll talk to you, and I'll introduce them at that time. But we also have Ms. Karen McMillan, who is with the Circuit Clerk's Office, Tax Assessor's Office, and we have Ms. Amy Greer. We've got Ms. Lisa Strong, our business manager, and we've got Mr. Mickey Basil, our board president, and Mr. Mike Browning, who is on the school board as well. So we appreciate y'all being with us tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, so we'll start with just a little information about what a bond is used for. A bond is used for larger capital projects, construction projects in schools. It's a way for schools to finance projects that add to their schools or make improvements.
So why do we need a bond? The Union County School District is at maximum capacity. Over the last 10 years, our student enrollment has increased by 406 students at a rate of 15%. At this rate, we can project the next 20 years our increase in enrollment to be 989 students, or 15% every 10 years. Currently, East Union is our largest school, and they have over 1,000 students. We have 78 students paying out-of-district tuition right now. And then it's been 50 years since the Union County School District passed a bond. So I think we've been very good stewards with our money over the last 50 years and have not had to ask the taxpayers to help. Since I've been in the district office, this is my 10th year, we have talked about a bond on 3 different occasions. However, the school board, that's something that we didn't want to do because we did not want to be the face of increasing people's taxes. But we're just to the point now that we didn't feel like we had any other option. But it was a decision that we put a lot of prayer and a lot of thought into before making it. And then I wanted to clarify one thing about a bond. We've said in our last meetings, if we pass this bond in 20 years, your taxes would not go up. I want to clarify that. If we pass the bond, then in 20 years, the Union County School Board could recommend the issuance of new bonds for new projects. However, the voters of Union County would have to vote that. It would just be no tax increase in 20 years if we decided to do it again. You would still have to vote for it, but it would not be a tax increase. So it doesn't automatically, if we pass it this time, it doesn't automatically roll over in 20 years. We have to have another election for it.
Just an informational slide here just to kind of tell you how much our district spends per student. We spend around $10,700 per student. The state average for that is almost $13,000, and so our Union County School District is ranked 140th out of 145 on the low end of that.
So what will the bond be used for? Like I said earlier, it will be used to build classrooms, restrooms. It will enhance our security. It will allow us to have some additional parking at one location and also sports lighting. All right, how the need was identified. A couple of years ago, Mr. Russell Taylor, the former superintendent, wanted to do a 5-year strategic plan. So we started that plan and we developed committees to focus on 5 different areas in our school district. And 2 of the areas was facilities and safety. And during this time, we had committees made up of community people, teachers, administrators that came to the district office. we met to determine what needs were needed at each school. So that's how we identified what each school was going to get. It's not something that Mr. Taylor, the school board, or myself sat up there and said, well, let's do this at East Union. These committees actually did the research and determined what each school, the need was.
So just to give you an idea, at East Union this year, we've had to purchase a mobile unit or rent a mobile unit for a couple of our classes. There will actually be 2 classrooms that'll be in this mobile unit on the back side of campus there. It's set up and almost ready to move in, correct, Mr. Bruce? I think they're putting the final touches on that. Having a bunch of these on our campuses is one of the things we're trying to avoid with the need for room. You have this option or you have the option of building new spaces.
And I would say this mobile unit cost us $100,000 just to rent for 1 year. So they're not cheap either. You know, if we want industries and businesses to move into Union County and to continue to be in Union County, if we start putting these mobile units on our campuses, I feel like people are going to leave Union County. They're not going to want their children to go to a school and be in a classroom in that mobile unit. And also, we feel like the way that we rank in the state of Mississippi as far as our academics, that it does not match with our facilities. Last year, we ranked 4th in the state, and our attendance centers were number 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the state of Mississippi. And this year, looking at preliminary data, we feel like we're even going to be higher than number 4. So our teachers and our students work really hard, and we just feel like we need to do the upgrades and give them the much-needed space that they need. The next slides are an overview of capital projects paid for by the district over the last 30 years. So East Union, we have spent $6.6 million, and that's just the additions from 1990 to the current cafeteria expansion that we're working on right now. So that's what the district has provided for East Union over the past 30 years. All right, Ingomar, $3.1 million is what we've spent at Ingomar since 1990 to last year, 2022. Myrtle, $3.4 million is what we've spent adding additional classrooms and renovations from 1990 to 2023. And then West Union, $4.2 million starting in 1990 and ending this year with the window upgrade. And I have these lists. If anybody would like to see them afterwards, I'd be happy to show you what we've added at each campus. So over the course of the last 33 years, the district has expended $17 million for capital projects and major improvements. So that's why we come to you asking for your help, because it took us 33 years to have this $17 million. So there's no way that we can do the projects that we need to do. It would take us 30-something more years to get the funds to do the projects that we currently need to do on each campus. And then in addition, the district has purchased 28 school buses in the past 10 years at a cost of $2.4 million. All right, and at this time, I'm going to let our administrators come up and they're going to go over the projects. We're going to start with Mr. Bruce at East Union. And the project that Mr. Bruce is going to go over, it's going to cost $4.5 million. And I'll go ahead and tell you up front, these estimates that we got from the architect, he inflated the prices because we don't know what the construction cost will be. So if it passes and we do the bids, when the bids come back, they may be lower. East Union may not cost $4.5 million. We just don't know until the bids go out and they come back. So if it doesn't cost the full $18.5 million, the sample ballot said that we can borrow up to our maximum capacity, which is 18.5. So if the projects come back cheaper, then we don't have to get the whole 18.5. We just want to get enough funds to do the projects that we need at each campus. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bruce and let him talk about East Union.
Thank you, Ms. Faulkner. Before I get into the project, the proposed project at East Union, I just want to say thanks for being here tonight. No matter your stance on this, the fact that you're here shows us that you're concerned. So that means a lot. Before we talk about the project, there's a few things I want to point out. When we say we're overcrowded at East Union, when we say, we're at capacity, we are at capacity. And it's easy for me to stand up here and say this, and If you come on our campus, you can see this firsthand. But there's a few things, like I say, I want to point out. In our old elementary library, it's a fairly large space. It's been petitioned off. There's been some rooms built in there, some small rooms. But we have 7 staff members who are using that space. We have 2 SPED teachers. We have 3 interventionists. We have our speech and language pathologist. We have a district curriculum coordinator. We've set up office petitions, or cubicle type petitions, to try to give these people a little more privacy. When you're providing interventions for students, you want as much privacy as possible. But that's 7 people that we just have nowhere else for them to go, so we're using that space. All of our SPED teachers that are inclusion teachers, they double up on classrooms, meaning they don't have their own classroom. They share with another SPED teacher. Our driver's ed, now for the most part, driver's ed class is driving, but there's 2 weeks out of every 9 weeks that he has to provide classroom instructions. We literally did not have a classroom for driver's ed. So for those 2 weeks that he's providing classroom instruction, it's happening on the stage in the gym. You can imagine how much concentration you get on the stage in the gym. We closed the curtain, but there's still PE going on back there. We have an interventionist. We have 2 interventionists with absolutely nowhere to go. They meet in the library. And again, you're dealing with interventionists. We're dealing with students that need a little extra help. The last thing they need are people coming by, but that's what's happening in the library. We try to make it as private as we can. We try to make it as good as we can, but it is just an open space in the library. Ms. Faulkner mentioned that we moved in the mobile unit. It provides 2 classrooms, which is much needed. It is what it is as a mobile unit. It's not particularly safe. In the case of a storm, we obviously wouldn't have students in the mobile unit, so that's easy fix, right? Bring them in the hallway. Well, the hallways are already crowded. You get to the point that mobile units aren't the answer in the case of an emergency, because you just don't have space to keep everybody safe. We are, from last year to this year, from 2022, 2023 to this year, we're up 78 students. Now let me say 14 of those students, we've added a Head Start this year, 4-year-olds. So 14 of those 78 are the new program, but that's still 64 students that were up from last year. And one more example, and then I'll move on. We have a fairly large 9th grade class. We're over 90 in our 9th grade class. So we have one class of algebra that has 33 students in it. We actually have a coach on staff that has a math endorsement that we could have had another section of algebra with. We literally didn't have a classroom to put him in. So we're sitting there with an algebra class of 33. When we had the personnel to make that a smaller class, we literally don't have the space to make that a smaller. There is no classroom available for that. So that's what we're dealing with, and credit to our teachers and our students. We make the best of it. We're an A school. We've been an A school. We've got a lot to be proud of, but we've got our challenges, and right now space is the big one. So let me talk a little bit about what we're asking for. 10 classrooms with egress and another set of restrooms. And you think about when you're already overcrowded and you have restrooms, those restrooms just get hammered all day long, kids. And if any one of them go down, if you have plumbing problems, any one of them, then that just compounds the problem. So I don't want to undersell the restrooms here. That's a big part of this. But those 10 classrooms give us some space. This will be constructed, as it's drawn now, it'll be constructed on the south end of campus where elementaries are, extending out into what is now the front playground. It would allow us to move our playgrounds around to a safer area to get those off Highway 9. Another bullet point here close to the bottom, we're also, through this bond, would have gates. So I talked about safety earlier in terms of weather. Well, safety in terms of someone on campus, an intruder on campus. If you have gates on our North Drive and our South Drive, which this bond will provide, you'd have one point of entry into the front of the school, which that'd be huge. Obviously, in the scope of the school day, we have personnel in place in the front of the school to handle guests, that handle people coming on campus. That's the door we want those visitors to use. And so with gates on the North Drive and the South Drive, if you were going to go into our building, you funnel through the front door, and that's where you'd go in. So that's a big part of this as well. Who's got the clicker? Is there another slide? Is that it right there? Okay. Any questions about the East Union side of this that I might be able to answer, or any questions specific to East Union? Yes, sir.
Did East Union tear down this year a hard structure, brick and mortar classroom to build a lunchroom?
There was, and we got a classroom back out of the old lunchroom, but we traded classrooms there. That's a good question. So with ESSER funds, we built a new cafeteria, which was also much needed. We had, it's a small cafeteria trying to feed 1,000 students in it. So the need, when I first came into the district 5 years ago, that was the number one need at East Union was a cafeteria. And through those ESSER funds, we were able to get that. And so what they did to make way for the new dining area was they did tear down a classroom, but in the old dining area, we got that classroom back with what was the lunchroom. So we traded spots for it. We didn't lose a classroom, but we did tear that down to build the cafeteria. Yes, sir.
Tear down hard.
Any other questions? Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Next, we have Ms. Robin Denton, the principal at Ingomar, and the project at Ingomar is $4.8 million is what it'll cost.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Ms. Wendy said, I am Robin Denton, and I am the Ingomar principal. This is coming up on my 30th year in the Union County School District, so I am glad to say that I'm a part of this great district. I've seen it grow, and it's an absolutely great place to work, and Union County is a great place to live. Like Mr. Bruce, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and share the needs of our school. And I know that we can all agree that what we want is what is best for our students. And we believe that these new classrooms and facilities are what is best for our students. Recently, the Ingomar School PTO and a group of volunteers, moved our playground. And we moved our playground for safety reasons. And I just want to thank those volunteers, our PTO, and an outside group who helped us do that. And so we've moved our playground to the back of the school because it's what's best for our students. And sometimes that involves a lot of change. And it was hard on me personally. For the last few years, we've said, safety-wise, we really need to move our playground. What if? And as, Ms. Wendy said, you don't want to be the face of change, but we needed to do that for our students. And it makes it a little less comfortable, and it's a longer walk, and we don't have as many bathroom facilities out there, but we did it for the students and their safety. So there's a lot of things that you will hear about, I think especially with the Myrtle plan, that have to do with safety, but it all boils down to doing what is best for our students. As the principal of Ingomar, I can attest that we have worked hard within the district to make the best of what finances and space that we have. We have used every nook and cranny at Ingomar, from moving that playground to classrooms and changes that we have made. We have halved rooms and made offices and put up partitioned padded walls. We have built some makeshift walls, and we've just about, done everything that we can think of to save space. We have reading and math interventionists in closets and in what would be considered hallways in our auditorium. And we still have run out of space because we currently have hopefully a full-time life course specialist coming to work with us and work with our students. and I have absolutely no idea where that person is going to go. So it's exciting to know that our students are going to get the help that they need and they deserve, but I can't think of where in the world that we could put this full-time person. We currently have a part-time therapist, and she shares a room with one of our interventionists. So we're already putting 2 people in the same makeshift closet. So with that said, just like Mr. Bruce said, we're still proud to have what we have. We are thankful. Every morning on the intercom, I say to our students and our staff, it is an absolutely great day to be a Falcon and an absolutely great day to be Uncommon. And it is. With the statistics that Ms. Wendy told you about earlier, I mean, there is no doubt that our district is uncommon and we do great things. But sometimes we do great things with little things. And so we're just asking for some more space that is definitely needed. We are an A school. Again, we're proud of what we have, but just like Dr. Sue said, oh, the places you'll go if you could have just a little bit. To my left, you see our request, our project. The blue area is where the facility would be. This is a multi-purpose building. It could be called an activities building. On the left, you see that there are 4 classrooms. In the center is a court, and to the right, there are much needed restrooms. If you've ever been to the restroom in the Ingomar gym, especially you men, you know that these restrooms are definitely needed. And then there would also be a concession stand area. Now, where this building is located is on top of where the current playground was moved from. So this is where the playground was. We've moved out the playground. And number 1, we did it for safety purposes, but number 2, in hopes that if and when we are able to have this building, we will be closer to being prepared and the ground will be ready. You can see that the building is, I guess as contractors would say, maybe it's not square to the other building. It is off-centered, and that is purposeful because we do not want to lose the space that we do have. We have at the top left an art and music building, and then the top right, we currently have 2 pre-K classrooms and a high school history classroom in that building. So we don't want to lose those 5 classrooms. So we moved this off center and it connects to the gym. They would have a new shared entry for restrooms and the concession between the gym and the multi-purpose building. And those restrooms would serve for both of those spaces. It would be for the gym and the new classroom spaces and the PE area that would be there as well. The concession area would be for both the gym and the multi-purpose building. For example, if we were having some sort of a tournament, like our volleyball is going to Belmont this weekend. They have 2 facilities, so they're able to do that, run both courts at the same time. We would also be renovating the flooring of the existing gym entry. So when you pass from the current gym into the new PE facility or multi-purpose building, you would not hopefully know that you've changed buildings. So the floors would be the same, and it would be an easy entry and exit, and it would all be one cohesive structure. The multi-purpose gym is necessary because we currently have a very small PE building that is right behind our large gym, which is there all the way to the right. That is our gym. And right behind it, you can see the structure, which is currently our PE building. Thank you, whoever has thank you, Mr. Wright. That is our PE building. It is our hope that this PE building could be moved into the multipurpose building, that we could have PE there, and the current PE building would be used for band. Ingomar currently houses the Union County Band, and Mr. Haley is our band director, and he does great things with the band, but he does it out of a 1960s house. And that house was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that has been gutted and turned into a practice area for the band. And I don't want to misquote, but I think there's approximately 70 kids in the band. Now, they don't all necessarily meet there at one time, and we hope that, it's a good day and we can get outside and we can practice for the band. But sometimes it's not, and when they have to meet there, it is very difficult to do inside that small structure. But hopefully the band would be able to meet in what is now the PE building, and there would be renovations there. And right out from that PE building is the band practice field on the other side of our new playground. So these are the needs. And not only do we get a new multi-purpose building, but inside that multi-purpose building, and most importantly, why we need that multi-purpose building, is for that classroom space. On the end closest to County Road 101, we would have 4 new classrooms, and those are very much needed as our classes are growing. We already know that for the next 4 years, we've done some calculations just looking at the current classrooms that we have. The next 4 years, as our students move up, we're going to need another 3rd grade, another 4th grade, and so on. And we just simply don't have that space to put those students together. But we're hoping that if we do get these classrooms, it's going to help. And the current building where the pre-K, the 2 pre-K rooms and the high school classroom meet together would hopefully become a 4th grade building, and we could house all 4th graders together so they wouldn't be spread across the campus. But I just want to again say thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. And I certainly hope that you just, take it all in, and at the end of the day, just think about the needs of the students and what they could do if they had the opportunity to grow and grow in the space in which they deserve. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, next we have Mr. Justin Hollis, the principal at Myrtle, and the Myrtle project would cost $4.4 million.
Thank you, Ms. Robin and Mr. Bruce. Again, it's an honor right here to be standing in front of you. I just dropped my paper, but it's an honor to be standing in front of you as principal of Myrtle Attendance Center. I consider it a great honor in my lifetime. Also to be a part of this great school district that we do have and the accomplishments that we've made so far as a school district. 2 things we're going to focus on as far as the Myrtle project goes is safety and space. Safety and space. I don't know, a lot of people have been to Myrtle, a lot of people haven't, but we have probably the most spread out campus there is. I know our officer, our SRO is here is here, and you can talk to him about it. But if which one, let's see. There we go. Now, this right here is what we have on tap for Myrtle, and what we want to is to create one point of entry for our school is what we do, because we are so spread out at this point. Our exit in the back right here, and a lot of you not familiar, in the back right here is where we come in, right here, enter and exit throughout the day. We do not have a gate currently up right there, so anybody can drive in and out of our campus during the course of the day, in that specific entrance. So what we're doing is trying to create one point of entry right here off 178, right here, right there. Now, what we create in this building, we're going to have 3 classrooms in this building, along with administrative offices, SRO offices. But the biggest thing we have, and that I think we have not hit on good enough, is the ability to connect these buildings right here. Right now, currently, we have students that walk across campus. If it's raining, pouring down rain right now, they're getting soaking wet. If they got to come over for rotation or they got to come to the office for something, normally they're getting soaking wet at that point. So what we do also, if you think about it with the one point of entry that we have currently, they are out in the open. So anybody can come on the campus at that point and have access to students if they're walking across campus at that point. So this right here is huge for us. Space is another thing. Since the first day of school, we have had 76 new students enrolled at Myrtle. From August 1st to now. I checked with our counselor today just to verify, Miss Kim Thompson, 76. Now we have had a few withdraw and a few go other schools, but not near. I would say probably, now this is strictly a guess, 10, okay? Strictly a guess. Don't quote me on that, but you can quote me on the 76. But I think the biggest thing with Myrtle is when you create that one point of entry at the front of the school, you have a gate that we put back where we are now by the football field that we will put a video camera on that Miss Julie Elliott can buzz in and out during the day who can and can't be on our campus during that time. If they have to come in from the front on 178 at that point, we have the opportunity there where they meet the SRO and me. I try to be the front line myself of our students for safety. Safety to me is the absolute number one thing we have to look at in school. So I would rather put myself in front. We have one office for administrators up there. I know that was a question at one time about we're building principals' offices. Well, that's really not the case. There is an office in there, but there's also a nurse's office, SRO office, 3 classrooms, bathrooms that connect that are used for the cafeteria right now. Right now, the only restrooms we have that connect to the cafeteria is in our what we call our 2 through 4 building. So we have, if a high school student has to use the restroom, the teacher either can allow them to go across the road or they can go to the 2 through 4 building right there. So they're on elementary toilets, basically, is what they're using, an elementary bathroom at that point. Going back to this, safety for us, I think, is the biggest part when you look at Myrtle. I've said that too, I know 2 times so far in our talk, but when you talk about connecting these buildings, this is the bottom of what we call our 5 through 8 hallway now. One of the original buildings on Myrtle campus is the building coming in right next to the gym that some of you Myrtle graduates may can tell me is one of the original buildings that was built on campus, I think probably used in the 1930s and 40s, 1940s possibly. Mr. Bill, can you, something like that? Yeah, actually, I knew you'd know before me. But we had actually had full classes up until last year in that building that has been renovated, but we were in constant need of bathrooms. Our bathroom, Mr. D. Parker can tell you, our bathrooms would get clogged and we would be shut down. The 5th and 6th graders would have to walk from that building to the high school building to use the restroom because that was some of the closest that were available during that time. Okay? Now, again, like I said, we tried to get as many people as we could out of that building as far as classes because I wanted them as close to us as we could get them, administrative-wise, to where I could keep my eyes on kids. Now we pretty much have it to where we can go right down Paul Nolan Way now and go into buildings and have the bulk of our students in those classes. Now we still use that 5th and 6th grade building we have our gifted class, we have ISS in there. We have a couple special education classes. But most of those students that have those are in regular classrooms throughout the day anyway. So we try to minimize as less students as we can to use the building, so to prevent the damage that we have as far as the bathrooms and things like that. And so far, it's gone well. But Lassie, going back to the 76 students that we have gotten this year, we are at max capacity just like everybody else. At this point right now, I can confidently tell you there's one elementary classroom not being used right now. But I can guarantee you this, before the end of the year, it probably will be, with interventionists and things like that. When we do these 3 classrooms, if we're able to do this, and you bless us with this, with your vote, the current office that we have, that we are in administratively, we are planning to make into classrooms and special education offices for the teachers. Right now, currently, I have 2 special education teachers per classroom. 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and 9 through 12 teachers have to share a room right now. So by giving them their own office and space would make a huge difference. You talk about students, having their privacy when they're having to be tutored, or when you have those one-on-one sessions to where you don't have a group of kids, too many kids in one classroom at one time. So the way I explain it for us is, yes, we get 3 brand new classrooms, but we also have the availability to gain 1 to 2 more classrooms by the adjustment of people. And we have continued, and we will continue to do that over the course of time, in our area. But, this, I can't stress enough, I think about, I've been blessed. This is my 8th year in the district total. I can tell you this, and I've been in a few different districts, and I know myself and a couple other administrators have. I cannot tell you how blessed we are with the students and the teachers that we have, and the administration that we have, and the school board that we have. This, I can confidently tell you, is an absolute need. Absolute need. For every school when we put it up here. Number 1 is safety. Because we know the way the world we live in today is not the same as 40 years ago from where we live. So we have to do everything we can to prevent that. I think about if something happens right now on the back of our campus, and I'm standing on the 1st grade building by 178, it would take me 3 to 4 minutes to get up to where it is. And I'm trying myself, because like I said, myself, Officer Tanner, we want to put ourselves between us and whatever's coming. So we think about safety all the time. And I'm going to be completely honest to you. We're so spread out right now that worries me. It does. I know it's worried us for years. But what it also does, when we connect these buildings, and I can't emphasize that enough, how much better it'd be for our students where they do not at any point have to step outside during the day if not necessary. And they're not visible to people that are pulling up on campus. So that, to me, is number 1 for us, okay? A close, 1A, 1B, again, is the classrooms. You looking at our thing, you can plan. We have 3 new here, but in my mind, I'm looking 4 to 5 is really logistically what we would gain if we were blessed with this bond. So again, it's something that I feel very, very strongly about. It's something that I believe in. I know us as administration believes in, that this is something that we confidently believe in. How blessed we are to be the premier district in Mississippi, one of the premier districts in Mississippi with what we had. But I also think about this when I'm going through this bond, and I have been thinking about this so much, is my son and my daughter. I didn't graduate from the Union County School District, but I am blessed to be a part of it. And it's my home. But I think about my children in 10 to 15 years and the future of us for the safety. If they want to bring back my grandchildren to Myrtle, I want them to be, number one, as safe as they possibly can and have the room that they need, number two. But like I said, as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions about what we want to do at Myrtle?
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
All right, that's it. Thank y'all.
And next, we have Mr. Troy Trout, the principal of West Union Detention Center, and their project is $3.8 million.
Thank you, Ms. Wendy. It's an honor to stand up here in front of you guys this evening and kind of discuss this with you. I need to point out the obvious for just a minute. I'm the new guy on the block here, so I had to get in here and learn this real quickly. But after coming to work officially on July 1st, Union County, I can tell you, one of the first things I noticed at West Union Detention Center was that we had quite a few rooms with partitions in them. And that's just, over the years, I think other principals from other buildings will tell you that's just kind of stemming the tide. You just kind of find a way to squirrel a little space here and squeeze a little space there. And I picked up on that very quickly. I think as the summer wore on and I was able to get a little bit more of a handle on things, just kind of learning my way, I noticed first off that my gifted class is kind of meeting in an area that's kind of crunched up and partitioned. Saw some of that in one of our newer buildings over in the science end of things where we had a partition up where maybe it once had been a big classroom and kind of been turned into some smaller classrooms. But the one that really caught my eye though was one of my interventionists was actually meeting on the stage in a closet, bless her, back behind some storage areas and everything else, and she just didn't have anywhere else to be, and that's the situation that we find ourselves sort of looking at West Union as well. Is we just frankly, from a square footage perspective, we're just bursting at the seams. So the numbers I want to share with you guys is as of about May of 2023, right as school was ending for the 22-23 school year, we were sitting at around 640 students at West Union Detention Center. And as of Friday of last week, we were at 685 students currently. And I say currently because every time I look up, there's somebody in the lobby coming to register. I think that's a wonderful problem to have, folks. I think that just attests to what we've got going on in this corner of the state, the industry, the jobs, the opportunity, frankly, that's here. People are fogging to this area, but something that comes along with that is the good problem that comes along with that is that our schools are growing. Neighboring school districts are growing. We're all growing. These folks have got to go to school somewhere. We're required by law to educate them when they move into our district. So just kind of go over some of our specifics. You'll look here, those of you that are familiar with our campus, this is Highway 30 West here, all right? This way is going back to New Albany, and this way is headed to Oxford. You can see the West Union Attendance Center main building here. Our area that we're really looking to do some damage here is under the same roof that we got already. Those of you that are familiar with the West Union campus, that's actually our existing auditorium area. And we're looking at taking that existing space, which frankly, West Union Attendance Center outgrew years ago. There's no way we could take our entire school student body and put them in that place. Just an impossibility. But taking that area there and turning it into some bigger spaces here that would allow us to turn that into classroom space. Also worth noting in blue up here, this is a familiar refrain from all four of our schools, restroom spaces at a premium on our campuses as well. I've been in the business for a few years, and I can tell you, right now, we got restrooms roughly in this area here, the big restrooms, and roughly in this area here. I've got a high school kid out here. He's got full reign to roam, about 3/4 of the school right here to go to the restroom. That might be a 20-minute trip for him. If he times it just right, he might be able to get 30 minutes out of that. Just facts of the business. Being able to come down here and have a little bit of restroom space to just serve the needs of that end of the campus would be a huge improvement on our day-to-day living. So let's look back at these though. You can see this existing space. Like I say, those of you familiar with this is actually the auditorium now. We'd be able to repurpose that space into 4 classrooms, as well as that ingress and egress that goes with that, as well as a restroom. So I think important to note that really, after talking to our committees and talking to our people back in times past, this was really where our best or biggest area of need really kind of came up. Worth noting also, our current first grade class is sitting at 75 students. When they get to be third graders here in 2 more years, that's when we departmentalize, right? That's when we're going to try to send you to your English teacher for part of the day, when you go to see your math teacher for part of the day. And at this rate of growth, there's no way around us needing at least 1 more teacher, possibly 2. Under state law, there's some caps as to how many students we can have under one teacher's guidance during the day. And worth noting, anything in the business, anybody that's ever been in the business, when you start talking about cramming as many kids in the classroom as you can get, a lot of times you run into other issues, right? The quality of instruction goes down. The tendency to have issues with discipline goes up. So you want to try to, there's a happy medium there. You got to have a certain number of kids in class, but really you want that to be right around 20 is kind of the sweet spot there. When you start creeping up into the 20s, things get a little bit dicey if you're not careful. So I think worth noting, without going way into things, Mr. Hollis kind of touched on this as well. This campus is originally 1961, and you plopped your school down when you could find a good spot right next to a highway, because that's what you wanted, because you wanted it to be easy to get into and out of. Unfortunately, the world we're living in today, that's not really the case. We would rather not have our schools slap dab on major thoroughfares. It makes it easy for people to come in and go out, maybe that don't have our students' best interest in mind. So something that we've had to sort of think about at West Union is how to control access to the back of our campus. Now, we're blessed in this regard. We've really only got 1 entrance and exit here, 1 entrance and exit over here, and the bond would allow us to control access there with some gates and be able to really increase the safety factor of our campus. We'd open those gates to start school. The kids would come in here and park where they're parking now in the back, along with our staff. But then we close those gates. And what we would do, we'd have a single point of entry right here at the current front door. We'd take a lot of this front lawn space at West Union right now and turn that into a large parking area, and that would really allow us to control who's coming in and who's going out. And I hate to say it, folks, but the world we're living in today, you got to be cognizant of these things. You got to control access to your campus and make them as safe as you can. So one last note I want to mention, and this was just me at my former employer, being principal at a different school last year. We happened to be at West Union playing ball, and we're up here at the softball field playing ball, and one of those funny left-handed batters takes a funny cut at a ball. It comes off the bat funny, goes straight up in the lights, rains hot glass down on the on deck circle batter, and I go over to talk to Mr. Wright about it, and we're kind of teasing back and forth, and he says, you know, it's not the first time that's happened. These lights are kind of low. These lights are kind of old. Above and beyond the notion that we need those things, those would be included for all 4 of our campuses, some upgraded sports lighting. I think that moment is coming whether we want it to or not. I know Mr. Taylor had spoken with us earlier at some of our informal meetings back in the summer about we've got a clan of woodpeckers that have, can't make this stuff up, got a clan of woodpeckers that have taken up in some of our old wooden creosote poles, and they come home every year to the same place. And they're tearing these poles up just as fast as they can get to them and tear them up. At some point in the very near future, that's going to turn into a real safety issue that's going to have to be addressed too. So I know our bond issue would have written into it as well some upgraded lighting that would allow us to address some of those needs as well. So in the interest of time, I'm going to hush now. Does anybody have any questions for me for the West Union project? Once again, I just appreciate you allowing us to be here and speak to you tonight. So thank you very much.
Okay, so the prices that I gave you did include the sports lighting, so that was included in the amount that I gave you for each project. And if you add those figures up, that's $17.5 million that I told you about. The extra $1 million would be for architect fees, any kind of testing and stuff like that that has to be done. That would equal the 18.5. But like I said, you know, when we put the bids out, they may come in a lot lower than the 18.5. We just don't know until we get the bids out there and get them back.
So the timeline for the bond, if it were to pass next week, we would hope to have everything in line for construction beginning May, this coming May.
So the big question is, how will this affect my taxes? And we just have a visual here that shows you, if you have a $50,000 house, your taxes would go up approximately $63 a year. If you have a $100,000 house, they would go up approximately $127 a year. And then automobiles, if you have a $20,000 vehicle, your taxes would go up about $76. And there is a site that you can go to figure out your taxes, and we also have Ms. Karen from the tax assessor's office who may go over that a little bit as well.
All right, so a quick look back at our ad valorem taxes. Since 2014, the tax request has only increased by about 1.7 million. By law, we're limited on the amount of money that we can ask for each year. Since 2014, the millage rate has only increased by 2.52 mills. And during that same period, the district only raised taxes to the 4% that were allowed 3 out of 10 years. And so basically the needs of our district cannot be met with our local ad valorem taxes. And that's the reason that we're asking for taxpayers to support this bond referendum.
All right, the impact of MAEP state funds, and this is the Mississippi Adequate Education Program, and it is funds that's allotted to the school districts by the Mississippi legislature. Since 2009 to the present time, the Union County School District has been underfunded by $22 million. So due to the lack of state funding, that's why we're asking you to support this bond referendum.
In 2020, with the onset of COVID and the following years, we were able to get some federal funds to help with some costs and some expenses that we had. Obviously, there was an increased need for technology and being able to be at home and learn and teach students that way. So the EDLE, House Bill 1788, provided money for us to buy devices for teachers and students, and also to make improvements to our broadband, to our internet, our Wi-Fi, both inside the buildings and making it available to students at home.
So Mark COVID money that we received was ESSER 1, 2, and 3. So ESSER 1, we received $525,000. ESSER 2, we received $2.1 million. And this money was used to hire interventionists to help address the learning loss due to COVID, some Chromebooks, some part-time custodians to help with our fogging and cleaning with COVID, summer school. And then ESSER 3, we received $4.6 million, and once again, we were able to hire some math coaches, some new teaching positions, some interventionists, summer school, and this is actually the money that we used to renovate the East Union cafeteria and the window replacement for Myrtle and West Union.
This next slide is just a graphic to kind of show you where we are as far as how we compare to other school districts in our area. Our millage rate is down, it's actually the lowest in our area at 54.79.
So when will your taxes increase? This is reappraisal year, so for any taxes for the 2023 school year or 2023 year, that would be due to the reappraisal. You would not see an increase in your taxes until the December 2024 bill due to the bond referendum.
And so when and where will the election be held? It'll be held at your normal precincts. Anybody that lives within the Union County School District will be able to vote on the bond. Those who live outside the district in New Albany District would not be able to vote. Pretty much if you vote for school board members, you'd be able to vote for on the bond referendum. That will be next Tuesday. Also, you have one more Saturday to do the absentee ballot at the courthouse.
So why a special election and who pays for it? The Union County School District and Board chose a special election in September instead of waiting for the primary in November. That way projects could begin by the summer of 2024. Also because it's the first bond we've done since 1976, and we thought it was important to educate our voters on the bond, and we wanted the focus to be on the bond at the election. And it is the responsibility of the school district to pay the cost of the special election.
And then the only money in excess of what the election will cost the district has spent and is able to spend, we're only able to spend money on informational materials. And so that amount came to $139.35. Anything else that is a yard sign or any type of anything promoting it would have been bought with donations. Also, the architect drew up the preliminary plans at no cost to the district.
So some of you may have the question, you know, if our schools are growing so much, why are we not 4A or 5A school? Well, that's because the classification is based on your students in 9th through 12th grade, and if you look, there's a statewide trend that by the time students get in those grades, a lot of them have quit, they've moved. So that's where the numbers come from for your classification. And our elementary classes are the classes where the growth is taking place. I think you heard earlier, we've got some grades that's got 90 students, 70 students, so that's where we're seeing the growth. And then just to let you know, 62 out of 148 districts currently have bonds issued for debt services. I know New Albany has done too since I've been at the district office the past 10 years. And I just wanted to put these pictures up here and just tell you, this is something I'm very passionate about. I'm a graduate of West Union, have worked in 3 of the 4 schools as an administrator, and I love Union County School District. I do not want to see us eventually have to consolidate. And 15 years down the road, if a superintendent comes in who doesn't know and understand Union County School District, that's going to be the only option, is to consolidate our schools. And our schools are our communities. We do not need them to consolidate. And I just wanted to say, you know, we want to give these children right here the same opportunity that I had, that some of you had, for them to go to our great schools and get a great education. All right, so at this time, we have got Mr. Bill Maddox. He's going to be the moderator for our questions, so I'm going to give him a mic, and he's got some guidelines for you, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Wendy. I don't really want to get up on that stage and be quite that high up. Yeah, my name's Bill Maddox. I manage New Albany Light, Gas, and Water. For those of you who don't know me, so I don't really have a tie with the school district other than I graduated there in 1982, not in the 30s, Justin. But I do love this county. I love the school district. I love the communities. I want what's best for all of them. Got lots of friends out here, and I want all of us to leave here friends and nobody get too mad. I had enough people mad at me last week after those storms. So what I would like to try to do is kind of go in an order on questions. I'd like to kind of go, the people who sit in the front, they're gonna get a bonus. We'll just kind of go a row at a time. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll let you get the question. They get a mic to you, and we'll kind of take a row at a time. Then once we've had a time to get those questions in, again, well, if you may have another question, we'll try to come back and catch those. But let's just kind of go in an order, if y'all don't mind. Again, we'll recognize you, stand, ask your question. Let's let the school folks respond, and just kind of everybody, let's all act pretty nice tonight if we can. So, which I know these folks here, they can't have questions. They got the answer. So where are we? Back to about row 5 here? 5 or 6? How about this row right here? Anybody got a question? There we go.
Well, I commend you on your PowerPoint. Your presentation is very well put together. They really have a hand in that. And it shows a lot of vision, a lot of progress for the future. I'm a business. I like progress. I'm all for that.
Y'all hear it back there?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you stand up? They want to look at you good.
I'm all for progress. I see now that they've identified 78 students that's out of district. I don't think that was the number on the last time. What's the tuition for those 78 students?
It's $500 a year.
I already knew that answer. But how is that, in comparison to what the average taxpayer pays for houses and vehicles in Union County?
I don't have any answers, so I'll pass the mic around.
I'm about like he is the microphone. The way we're estimating it is, basically, if you're not over 65 or on disability, because that's a whole different outlook. If you're under the 65 and you get a regular If you're under 65 and you're not on disability, then you only get a regular homestead credit. So your taxes are figured totally different. So an estimate of those people is gonna be anywhere from, I figured some that's $40, anywhere to $200 that this is gonna be a year.
We're just talking about the bond tax. We're not talking about the overall property tax.
Well, there's really no way to just do the
Yeah.
bond
That's-
tax because it's gonna be added to your millage rate.
Right. So that is my concern. Out of district, people paying tuition is not comparable to somebody living here. And I would be in favor of doing something like, those are only the 78 identified. Also, there's a large number, and we all know there's a lot of people in here that know that somebody's using grandma, grandpa, some relatives' address. And, those people need to be identified, and I would be in favor of adopting something sort of like DeSoto County adopted, where to make that a law or crime if somebody falsified documents and going to Union County School.
Again, thank you, and Ms. Lisa and others, we'll take some notes, so we'll have a record of the concern. Thank you. Anything? Hold on, let's, all right, Lord, I kind of skipped over this row. Again, what I'd like to do is take a row at a time. I want everybody to get a chance to get a question in, then we'll come back.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to ask questions. The first question is just a simple question, and I'm not sure if this is a windy question or what, but you mentioned on your slide that, I know one of the concerns that constituents had was about who pays for the special election, how much is it gonna cost, things of that nature. I did see where the architect that drew up the plans did that at no cost to the district. You got any idea about what that would have cost?
Lisa, you may could answer that
There,
better.
you know, if the bond issue passes, if the bond issue passes, then we would have to pay architect fees, moving forward. But he did the preliminary drawings, no charge to the school district.
Okay.
But the actual drawings and his, coordination of the services of the construction, there will be a cost for that. It's, typically our agreement is 6% of the, base bid.
And Bill Fiszler, I just want to make a statement instead of a question here, and then I'll try to sit down and not talk much more tonight. That's sometimes hard for me. As I've kind of looked around, I haven't done a lot of study on other districts, but it's been brought to my attention that the Oxford City District this year, they are asking for a bond. It's on actually the same date as ours, the 19th. It's $37 million. And as I look at the requests, everything is very generic. I did not get into the deep details of this because I didn't have access to it. But basically, it's all renovating, actually. There's a lot of, and I know we're not Oxford, but I'm just trying to give you a comparison to what people around us are asking for. But $37 million goes for renovation, replacing, remodeling, repairing, equipping existing facilities. In some places, they're asking for turf for their fields. In one place, they're actually asking for playground equipment and basketball courts, scoreboards, bleachers, turf, weight rooms. There's a lot of things that aren't educational in this $37 million bond. And what I would encourage you to think about, pray about, and continue to consider in this referendum is the fact that in 50 years, we haven't asked for a bond. And if you go back and you look, and I've done my supervisor, and I'm not sure what y'all will tell you, but he tells me that the average valuation of a home in Union County is $100,000. And if we look on some of the presentations that Ms. Wendy's presented, the $100,000 was kind of the middle number. And I did some math. If we look at, I know, look, my house is valued at more than $100,000. There's probably a lot of you sitting in here that are. But this is the median. And this is District 3 supervisor that gave me that information. But a median house of $100,000 and 2 cars that are valued at $20,000 is approximately $180 a year. That's what your tax on this bond would go up. $150,000 house and 2 cars would be $350 a year, or $6.73 a week. We're talking about the future of our children. We're talking about room. We're talking about facilities. We're talking about safety. And we think that Colorado is way over there and things don't happen. I've heard negative comments about safety from different people, and I listen. But if one of our children gets shot because of lack of safety, I think everybody's attitude would change. Now, I pray that doesn't happen. But basically, in 50 years, with no money asked for, most of us in this room haven't been paying taxes for 50 years. Some of you may have been paying taxes 50 years. If we had had an increase, if your referendum, if it causes your bond to go up $500 a year, which that's going to be a very, very, very small amount of people. If you look at that as $10 a year over 50 years, that's not a lot of money. And that's just my plea. Listen, I'm not a senior. Those things have been addressed or could be addressed. If you've got a senior citizen or one with 100% disability, some of their taxes will actually go down. And the school board and the school system has no control over county taxes going up. And that is a state mandated deal that has to happen. I hate that this is happening this year, but I think everybody would feel the same if it happened next year, or if it happened last year. So the reality is it's something that needs to happen, and I just urge you to pray and really consider if $6 or $10 a week or $20 a week is going to keep us from passing this bill for these kids.
All right, how about our road right here? You see me? Got anything?
Yeah. That's all right. I was just wondering, it says it in here, purchasing land thereof on the ballot. What land is going to be purchased?
That ballot, it was created by the bond attorney, and it's a very generic, broad ballot. What we want is what we've asked for. We are not purchasing any land. That's just, like I said, it was a generic ballot that the bond attorney sent us.
Okay, so you're not expanding any?
No, sir. What you saw what we're gonna do with the money, and that's the classrooms, parking, sports lighting. No land will be purchased.
Okay. Thank you. Did everybody hear that? Get to hear the answer? Okay. Anything here?
You said the architect inflated the numbers, and it shouldn't be no more than 18.5, it should be less. What are we voting for, an 18.5 max? Or are we voting for, hey, he inflated it, but it turns out the bids come back higher? Is it gonna be 20 million? So it's an 18.5 max? And who's the architect? Justin Zoller.
So what happens if it comes back, the bids come back and they are 22 million? What happens in that scenario?
He assures us it will not, and our capacity.
Did y'all hear the
is
question?
18.5.
The question is, if it comes back way higher than 18.5, if it comes back 22 million, right? Something higher than 18.5 million, what happens?
He assures us that it's not gonna come back higher than the estimates he gave us. But our capacity is 18.5, so we can get no more than $18.5 million.
That still don't answer my question. Like, what, he can assure it, but there's no guarantees there.
If
Same thing
it
happened
came
up
back
here.
more, then we would just, I would say probably sports lighting would be the first thing we would cut. We would have to look and see what we could cut.
Wendy, may I say something?
With any construction project, you can always do a base bid, and then you can add on additional options. So it would give the board the right to approve a base bid and then possibly some add-ons. So, when the time comes for bid, if we think, or the architect, we wouldn't know, but if the architect thinks that the prices are more based on the square footage, then we could possibly scale back the base bid and do some add-ons. Then we would have options and be able to choose what we could and couldn't do. So the whole project doesn't have to be scrapped. So they will advise us on how to do that so the project doesn't get totally off the table.
Okay, anything here?
I've heard a number of people mention the lights and how much it was gonna cost. I noticed nobody covered that, and I wonder if they could explain what they were gonna do with concern to the lights.
The lights was in the figure that I gave you. It was $750,000 per campus for the lights, per campus. And it would be the metal poles and then the LED lights.
Okay. Anything here? Phyllis?
Okay, my first question is, I don't remember the exact amount, that I think Mr. Wright had on his slide of cost per student to educate Mississippi students. What was that figure?
It was 10,000.
10,000 something?
Yeah, 10,000 and something.
Well, you don't have to give an exact. And we currently charge $500 a year. So looking long-term down the road, for out-of-district students, looking long-term, should that be addressed? I mean, if we're pulling 78 out-of-district students in and only charging them $500 a year, but it's costing $10,000 to educate those students, why are we doing that? I guess is my question.
That is something we definitely can look at. I know that price was set by the school board, by looking at other districts, what they charge for out of district, and that's how that number came, we came up with that number
It's been that number for
for a while.
quite a long time, yeah.
Our state funding, the Mississippi Adequate Education Program funding, that is allocated based on your student enrollment, regardless of whether they're in your district or not. So we do receive state funding for out-of-district students. Now there's a lag on that. Like if this is a 2023 year, we probably won't see the results of that money for 2 years. But I'm learning you can't talk with your hands when you're using a microphone. The base student cost this year is around $5,800 is what MAEP funds us. But it changes. The state does a change about every 4 years, and they'll update that number. Good question.
I had another question about the millage rate. It stopped at 150, and everybody's houses has gone up here recently. So what does the rate jump to above 150?
Your millage rate is countywide. So your assessed value is said times your millage rate. So you have an assessed value and I have an assessed value, but everybody has the same millage rate. Like right now for 22 taxes, our millage rate was 116.21. So with the increase in the assessed value because of our state mandate, our millage rate is going to go down to compensate for the increase in the assessed value. So we're looking at, which will be decided come Thursday with the Board of Supervisors, the millage rate's looking like it's going to go to 105.21. So it's going to go down, but that's for everybody. Everybody in Union County has, well, no, let me take that back. If you're in the city of New Albany, you have yours. If you're in Sherman, you're in Myrtle, or you're in Blue Springs, you pay extra. But if everybody is just strictly in the county millage, they have the same millage rate. So, and it's going down this year to compensate for our increase. And a lot of people that's called that I figured their taxes are going down. So if the school bond goes in, then that millage rate will go up. And if it goes to the max that they're saying, the 12.77, then you go back to the part where I said our millage rate this year was the 116.21. If you add that 12 to it, then it's 117.98. So you're not looking at the 1 mil difference if you compare 22 to 24.
Another question. So does the schools around here receive any other money from Toyota or the newly Mississippi Lottery?
We do not receive any money from the lottery. The Toyota is set up by the Pool Alliance board, and we signed, the school district doesn't make those decisions. Our board of supervisors make all of those decisions. So the money that has been paid by Toyota is settled through the Pool Alliance, and the school district gets a check we have for 10 years for $300,000. And that's what we've received from Toyota the last 10 years. And then we receive some taxes, some years from some subsidiary companies. But when we submit our ad valorem tax request to the Board of Supervisors, they lessen our request by $300,000. So in the end, it takes the lesser amount that the Board of Supervisors sends, plus the check we receive from the Pool Alliance to fully fund our tax request. And so we're not receiving, I guess you would say, gravy from Toyota funds.
I just wanted to make sure where the money is going most of the time, because it's like this special election, can somebody give me a number on how much it actually costs just to do this election? Or, you see, that's a waste of money to me, I think. But that's just my opinion. That's all I have.
And again, I am just trying to walk around with the mic, but I have looked at my taxes a lot. Can y'all hear me okay? It sounds weird. And I don't want the tax people to hear this too much, because when you look at your assessed value, and it's kind of hard to go through those tax numbers, but it really doesn't have anything to do with market value, because I know you say everybody's got a $150,000 house, but if you look at your assessed value, there's a real good chance this, most cases, not gonna be anywhere close to that. Because I know what the bank told me my house is worth. I know what I gotta pay on it, and what my assessed value is, they don't match up. So Rich, you do have a lot of concerns. If you pull up that TSC maps page, you can find your property and look at that assessed value, and it might alleviate some concerns, because, yeah, the 150,000 they're showing up there, you might have a $300,000 house with 150,000 assessed value.
The only thing I was gonna say is generally, when you look at your house, we tell everybody 30% less than what you would want to get for your house.
I'm not gonna say anything else. Now, right here, we got anything?
If this bond does not go through, is there a plan in place? Is there a plan B? And if so, when would that be looked at?
If it does not go through, then you're looking at more mobile units being placed on our campuses. And like I said earlier, it was $100,000 to rent that one for 1 year. We would just have to use some of our maintenance funds for repairs and stuff that need to be done. And hopefully in a couple of years, try to pass a bond again if it doesn't go through this time.
I'll say one other thing. I'm one of the fortunate ones, or misfortunate ones, that my taxes is not going down. I have 2 pieces of land. I have my house that is on a parcel that was my family farm. So I now have my parents, after they passed away, left it to me. I have my house that's built on it. I was fortunate enough that they increased the property value of my house $45,000. There's been nothing done to my house since 2010 other than replace a rotten deck. So I called, I figured what I thought my taxes were gonna be, and then I called the tax office and said, how close am I to this? I was about $200 low on what I thought. So with the 2 pieces of property that I have, my house is $189,000, what the value that they put it at. My parents' place is like $60,000. I'm looking at about $1,000 more, with the school bond and my increased taxes. And I am retired widow with 1 child. I didn't actually calculate her taxes for her. I don't know who in the office did, so I can't say, what yours was. I do know the fact that your parents' house, you don't get any homestead credit on it. It's assessed totally different. So you get a 15% assessment with no homestead, so it probably did increase. And then you will be hit straight with the increase of the state mandated increase and the bond increase, yes. And this is not, my parents didn't lose the homestead this year. My mother died in 2019. So I've already been paying the taxes on that $60,000 piece of property.
If you will come into the office, we'll pull the tax card and we'll look at your assessed value. Be glad to. And if you have anything that shows like insurance what our difference is. I understand because I know that it's not you guys here locally that took the tax rate. I know that came from Jackson, so, you know, I'm not pointing at you guys.
But I mean, I am telling you, you know, if we're a big difference from your insurance or your appraisal, please come in. We asked people to, we sent out letters to everybody that was going up over 25%. So if your value went up over 25%, then we sent you a letter and asked you to come in and, you know, let us talk.
How about here?
So if this doesn't pass and we have to go to Plan B, what's the time frame before you can issue another bond?
There's not, we can turn around and do it in the spring.
I actually have two questions. All land's gonna be taxed, not just my house and my little couple of acres. If I got 200 acres down on the bottom, I'm renting out for a farmer to do beans on, that's gonna be taxed also, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, okay. And then I wanna know who's gonna control this $18.5 million.
The state of Mississippi has a lot of laws that a school district has to follow, and lots of policies, but we will hire an architect, and then the architect will help us advertise for bid on the projects by school. The bids will come in, they'll be sealed bids. Only people with commercial state contractor's license will be allowed to bid, and they'll have to have a bid bond. And once those bids are opened, the bidder has a number of days to verify that his bid is accurate, and he wants to stand behind it and not, you know, rescind his bid. Then once that takes place, we sign a contract with the construction company. And each construction company typically has a superintendent that's over the project that works directly with the architect. And the architect will visit the sites. Is it once a week, Wendy, or does he come every 2 weeks? Depends on the magnitude of the project. But he'll come out and check in on the projects, make sure they're going the way they should. If there's any changes that need to be made because it's something they didn't know before the project starts, all those change orders would have to go back before our school board. We really don't have any authority to do anything once the bids are awarded.
So the answer to my question is the architect.
That would be correct.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Y'all, I'm just gonna tell you real quick, I came in here with no children in school. Came in here, not knowing really what to expect. I'm trying my best to get away from social media. I think that's one of our biggest problems outside of what's going on here today. Had no idea, and I still don't know if I'm gonna vote yes or no. But I will tell you this sitting here. I was in law enforcement 17 and a half years. When my kid graduated 2 years ago from Myrtle, I felt like the whole 12 years he was in school, I was probably paying my taxes because, you know, number one, Coach Hollis would tell you this, Myrtle is probably the lowest poverty school in our county, who come from single parents, who don't raise their kids, who we as parents pick up other kids and help raise and help fund to do whatever we can do. We took a chance several years ago on the Booster Club, And if anyone should ever be mad at the school board or principals, it should be me, okay? I'm not gonna go into what happened, but what happened has happened, and I still trust that my God will let me get through what I need to get through today, talking with you guys. But listen to Bo Robbins speak. We were blessed at Myrtle to have a guy come in, gave a ton of money to our football field, to our baseball field, our lighting. You know, people can fuss. We knew coming in here that we were all going to agree and disagree, and that's part of human nature. But at the end of the day, even my law enforcement career, I always said that Union County is going to let something happen bad before something's done. And I see now that our superintendent, Miss Wendy, our principals, because one of my questions I was going to ask tonight, I come in here, and my wife's probably going to see this, and I told her I wasn't going to say that, and she said, "Oh Lord," when I told her I was coming. So I am who I am. I lost my parents a long time ago, all of my grandparents, and I've done the best I could as being a Christian, number one, and I always fail every day, but I'm just letting you know that I didn't know which way I was going to go. So, you know, again, after listening to Bo, when God talks to your heart, and he can do it right here, and that's what he's pretty much done to me, because I'm standing up talking to you guys, because, again, I have no children at this school. But from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I just want to commend Miss Wendy, the school board, principals, assistant principals, and everything else, because like I said, one of my main questions was going to be tonight if Coach Hollis, Mr. Trout, Miss Robin, and I can't remember the East Union's principal's name, but if they weren't here tonight, that was going to be my main question, is if you care so much, why are you not here? But guess what? You're here. You care, and I appreciate everything you're trying to do for our future and for our children. And I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm not a politician, but y'all know I'm running for public office. I'll probably lose some votes when this goes live, but I'm probably going to vote and support this thing that I didn't know I would ever consider doing. So I just hope that you understand. And ma'am, I do feel sorry for you, because I do see that. I do. And that was another concern for me, because we do have people that struggle. But at the end of the day, I'm probably going to struggle as well. And I don't even have a kid in a school. But as long as we're doing for the future of our county, I'm going to support whatever we can for our kids. Thank you.
We're back to the absolute Baptist part of the room we're in back here, Wendy.
Thank you, Miss Wendy. I really don't have a dog in this race, but let me tell you a few things. I went through this 2 years ago, I believe, with the Neoma School District, and a significant portion of the money that was spent was on security enhancement. We're fortunate to have at least one of the SROs in the room now for Merton, Tanner Golden Stand-Up Police. Now, Tanner's a good-looking boy, he's pretty good shape, but if you put back the picture on that campus, and he's not slow. He might be the fastest room, he's not slow. It will take him at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe more to get from one part of that campus to the next. Let me tell you what staff are showing these days. The kids are dying by the second. The longer it takes for us to get from point A to the threat, by the second. So, I understand money's money. I got one in college, I got one fast on her heels, both of them are girls. There is no extra money. It's tough financially. But y'all are here to try to come together, decide on what to do. A significant portion of this will be spent on your children's security. That gives you the ability to stay at work, to stay at home, to do whatever, and allow your children to get an education, which they must have to move forward in life. That's what I'm done my entire life, trying to protect people. And I'm telling you now, the world we live in, you cannot afford to not take that into significant consideration, because people that are in our society today are much different than they were 25 years ago. I can tell you that right now. So as y'all move forward and y'all think about this, just know that a significant portion, I'm sure Ms. Wendy has the details, of what part of this will be spent on your children's security. That's an important part. Thank y'all.
I've heard safety mentioned by every speaker and on every slide. I saw that Ingemar's hallways wasn't large enough to hold all the students. Instead of building a gym, do we need to build a tornado shelter and put 4 classrooms in it?
And I will say, we did, I promise you, we have explored every option almost down there, but we did look at doing the tornado domes. We looked at doing that, and the way it used to be set up, you could count your population where the school is and the school population, but now you can only count either or. So if we were to do that and use our school population, we would have to pay, it was gonna be, I think, close to $5 million. I mean, it was unreal, the amount that we were gonna have to pay, because they don't match it like they used to. Well, and I'll say the reason that they need that multi-purpose gym is back in 2013, I believe, the other schools actually got a multi-purpose building. Ingemar did not. They got a cafeteria expansion. That's what they needed at that time. And so that's the reason for the multi-purpose building at Ingemar. Because it's everybody in K-12 has to have PE, and the little bitty PE building that they have right now on cold and rainy days, they can't get everybody in there.
What I heard it was just to house kids' tournaments.
That kind of speaks to that. Like, we have, I teach even more. So we have one basketball gym that their high school kids practice in. But then you have high school kids who can't take the classes they need because you have scheduling conflicts in the basketball gym. The other campuses have 2 gyms. You can schedule your high school basketball players who practice during the day, and also your elementary kids. You just have more options when you have more gym space. But actually, us having one gym is keeping high school kids from getting the courses that they need because of scheduling conflicts. And we do play volleyball, and a lot of our stuff has to be after school because kids can't get on the gym floor. So academics is very much affected by our lack of gym space, getting those student athletes in the classrooms that they need, the courses that they need. So I do think we need a gym anymore.
Anything else on the back row?
Hey, just real quick, if some way this does not pass, George and I have sat back here, we're gonna build mobile homes and sell them a lot cheaper than $100,000 a year, okay?
Ms. Wendy, I think we may have had another, okay.
I wasn't gonna say that. Is this what we need or what we want? And the first thing we're gonna cut and we run out of money is lights and ball fields, right? And where we gonna be at in 5 years? Y'all got that plan?
If this bond doesn't pass, we're gonna be in a mess in 5 years.
When this bond passes, if it passes, in 5 years, are we gonna be in the same spot we are now?
According to our projected growth, we should be fine in 5 years, 10 years.
And if the bond don't pass, and am I correct in saying all schools got to be on state highway? All schools got to be on state highway?
No, not that I'm aware of. Is it a law they have to be on a highway?
go back to the tornado deal. When tornadoes come, I always felt safer at school. And I've been out of school for a long time, but I felt safer at school than I did at home. And a lot of times, when letting out schools early to get the school out of the liability issue, and I understand that too. But sometimes when they get out of school, they ain't got no home to go to. That's also a concern that needs to be thought of.
Do we have another one up here?
One more question.
The bond has two focuses. The main focus, in my eyes, has been on expansion, which I think can be eliminated when, we raise the tuition costs and identify those students that are Roger Beach enrolling in school. The main purpose of any bond, and it should be fixed right now, it shouldn't have to even go to the vote, it's the safety and security for kids. That should be priority one, fixed a long time ago. Yeah, excuse me, I've come from the military, so there's been a lot of training, anti-terrorism officer on my side of the building. And when I go somewhere, gas stations or anywhere, I'm constantly looking. I've been to every one of these schools for sports activities, and every one of them have soft points, soft areas that need to be fixed. And that's where our focus should be, and I think you would get 100% participation out of everyone in here on that.
Well, I will speak up and say we have spent a lot of money on safety in our district. We just got a $600,000 COPS grant to spend on safety, which is about to take place. We were able to hire the SROs at each campus, so we've done a lot more than a lot of districts. I know there's always room for improvement, and I know there's more security things that we need to work on, and that is definitely our number one goal.
I do want to say something. I was vocal about this online. Toyota is no longer Union County's piggy bank. We cannot rely on them to fund the schools or anything else. I'm in the supervisors meetings twice a month. Everybody, there's no extra money going anywhere. The fire department, the police, everybody has to go through for grants. They file for the grants, the bids come in, they go with the lowest bid, with the best quality product we can get. We need to start bringing in more revenue. How that Oxford can give 70 mil, look at the revenue Oxford pulls in compared to what we pull in. If we pull in more revenue, then more revenue can go towards the school. Is it? New Albany, we have festivals, they have tourism, they have the shops downtown. Who markets Union County? Who brings tourism to Union County? There's only one festival in Union County. If we're not bringing in revenue, there is no more revenue to give to the schools. So we gotta start thinking, how can we bring more revenue here to put that cushion so we're not back like this last time? Or it might not take 18 mil. We can say, okay, we got a cushion of 5, but we need 15. So they might only have to ask for 10 later on. So we gotta figure out how we can get more revenue here that we can either save or give through the school budget every year. Because we can't rely on Toyota for that. That money, I think everybody was under the assumption that all Toyota's money come here. It doesn't. When that was done, it's divided up between Pontotoc, Union, and Lee. Yeah. So we don't get all of that. That's divided up. That was done when the deal was done. Most of us weren't involved with that. So now it's like, okay, we're waking up to the realization there is no Toyota money. So what do we do now? We can vote for the bond, pass it, and then start bringing in more revenue. That way in 50 years, 30 years, they're not having to ask for a bond because we may have a cushion set to the side. That's something we can bring up to the supervisors and try to do.
Thank you. If we want to bring more revenue in, I'm going to say once again, if we start putting these mobile units on our campuses, we're not going to bring in revenue. People are going to leave Union County. So I know we have kept y'all a long time. It's already 7:15. I think that's one more question, and then I'm going to close this up.
It's not really a question, it's just something that I wanted to address. I had seen on Facebook. My cousin said I would be a wonderful politician. It's just whenever I believe in something, I wanted to talk about, I had seen people laughing basically about moving our Union County band, and we have 4 schools and this band supports all of them. How much money have we spent on the band?
We put over $1 million in the band.
I have a daughter that is not
sportsy. My Zoe is different and she struggled to find a place where she belonged. The band gave her a place to belong. Right now, not only she has literally sat on a toilet to practice her clarinet because there's no space and she has to listen to her teacher tell her how to play because she can't see because she's in the bathroom. But not only are they in this building, and the multi-purpose building would help tremendously. Right now, it is in a building that's outside of the gate, and they don't have any safety. So as a parent, that's the first place if somebody looks and is studying to attack a school, that's the first place they're gonna get because they know there's no safety there. So not only is it because the band could use a bigger space, but my daughter will be safer in a building that's behind the gate. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Wendy. All right, once again, I want to thank y'all for taking the time to come out tonight. I hope we've answered some questions, gave you some good information. If you have questions that you didn't ask that you want answered, please feel free to call me at the district office. Our number is 1960. My email's on our website. Please, like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I know Ms. Karen at the tax assessor's office is willing to answer any questions, help you figure your taxes if you need help doing that. In closing, I just want to say on behalf of the school board, we really would appreciate you considering voting for this bond. We're here to do what we feel like is best for our students, and giving them the much needed class space and security they need is our #1 priority. So thank you guys for being here tonight.